Who's the dumbest person you've ever met? My coworker Brad thought he was the smartest guy at our auto repair shop, always bragging about how he could fix anything, knew everything about cars, and didn't need to read manuals like the rest of us idiots. This guy would roll his eyes whenever our boss Mike explained safety procedures. He'd skip steps in oil changes because he'd done it a million times. He refused to use the computer diagnostic tools because real mechanics don't need computers, just experience and intuition. Brad had been working there for 2 years and somehow convinced himself he was better than mechanics with 20 years experience. He'd interrupt customers explaining their problems to tell them what was really wrong before even looking at their cars. One Tuesday morning, this middle-aged lady brings in her Honda Civic with engine problems. Check engine light was on, car was running rough, and she was worried about driving it to work every day. Brad immediately jumps on it, telling everyone in the shop he knows exactly what's wrong just by listening to the engine sound. He starts explaining to the lady how modern mechanics rely too much on computers instead of using their ears and experience. He spent 3 hours taking apart the entire engine. Parts everywhere, oil all over the floor, spark plugs scattered on his workbench. He's confident he found multiple problems and starts putting everything back together, explaining to anyone who would listen how he was fixing issues the diagnostic computer would never catch. The lady comes to pick up her car that afternoon. Brad hands her the keys with this huge grin, bragging about how he fixed something that would have stumped other mechanics for days. He even charged her for extra parts he claimed were worn out. She starts the car. It sounds even worse than before. Black smoke pouring out the exhaust, engine making noises like it's about to explode. She's sitting there terrified while Brad's frantically trying to figure out what went wrong, insisting this was impossible. Our boss Mike comes over and pops the hood, takes one look and starts laughing so hard he can barely breathe. Brad had put the spark plug wires back in completely random order, every single one connected to the wrong cylinder. But that wasn't even the worst part. Mike grabs the gas cap and shows everyone it's barely hanging on by one thread. Turns out the original problem was just a loose gas cap. The check engine light was on because the cap wasn't sealing properly. A 5-second fix that any teenager could have done. Mike tightened the gas cap, fixed Brad's disaster with the spark plugs, and the car ran perfectly. The lady drove away happy, but Brad had turned a free 30-second job into 4 hours of labor costs plus unnecessary parts. Here's where it gets really stupid. Instead of admitting his mistake, Brad tried to convince everyone that loose gas caps don't actually cause check engine lights. He spent the next week Googling random articles to prove modern car computers are programmed incorrectly. He printed out conspiracy theory forum posts and left them on everyone's workbench. He cornered customers to explain his theory about how dealerships program false error codes to make more money on repairs. The breaking point came when Brad decided to prove his point by deliberately loosening gas caps on other customer cars. He wanted to demonstrate that the check engine light wouldn't come on, proving his theory about faulty computer programming. Of course, every single car immediately triggered the check engine light within minutes. Now we had 5 angry customers demanding to know why their cars developed problems after simple oil changes. Mike figured out what Brad was doing when he caught him in the parking lot with a wrench, systematically unscrewing gas caps on customer vehicles. That was it. Brad got fired on the spot and banned from the property. But the story doesn't end there. 6 months later, Brad opened his own garage across town, put up this huge sign advertising himself as the area's top engine specialist who doesn't rely on fancy computer diagnostics, just old school mechanical knowledge. His first customer was a guy with a check engine light on his truck. Brad spent 2 entire days completely rebuilding the engine, charged the guy $3,000 for parts and labor. Guess what the actual problem was? The gas cap was loose. The customer sued Brad for fraud and won. Brad's garage closed after 3 weeks when word spread about his incompetence. Last I heard, he was working at a quick lube place and still telling people that gas caps are a conspiracy by car manufacturers to create fake problems.